realized that I did a lot of different videos about how to do things in Blender, how to construct them, but I didn't actually do basic videos on how to use Blender, and that is literally the first thing you need to start doing. So I'm gonna just set up a second my window left, there you go, so that everyone can see the buttons I'm pressing, just right down here on the left. But what I'm going to do in this series of videos, and I'm going to go through all of the possible procedures you need to go through when you're using Blender, is teach people from very beginning until the end. Well, and this never end because Blender keeps on developing and digital design keeps on developing. But until the most recent things that you can possibly do with Blender, using every single command that you see in the window, there will be nothing that will be left untouched. So that you will have, at the end, hopefully, the same level of skills that I have. I teach this at university too, so it's going to be more or less a similar procedure as the one that I use at university. If it works there, I'm pretty sure it works here. But also part of how you do these things is looking at basically how I do this, follow it, and then do some more work at home. So don't expect to know everything just out of the box. You need to learn, practice with some things. Alright? So I'm gonna ignore mostly this part for today and this and some of the other options, and I'm gonna go with the basics. So first thing, which is counterintuitive, is select the box, right click, press X. X is a command to delete, and delete it. I know it's weird, but you always do this in Blender because the first box is always a bit buggy and can cause serious problems when you're doing the model. You don't want to build everything and then all of a sudden, oh, the box doesn't do this. It should be doing it, but it's not. So great, I just wasted an entire hour working on nothing. It happened to me the first time, so we want someone else to do it. Alright, so the second thing that we need to do is go here on the top right, press on View, and look at these numbers. These numbers are all random. That's because the central point where you create the object is down here. So if I add an object, the cube will appear here. And I don't want it to be there. I want to be very precise, be in the middle. So what I'm going to do is press on here and basically turn every single thing I see, including the degrees, into 0. Alright? The central point is now here. So when I create a new object, and this is how you do it, keep it in object mode, add, mesh, select the object. We're going to go for cube today. So this cube will work. So now, basic commands on how to move the cube. This is very simple. You press G to control the cube. So G, you get to control the cube, and you put it anywhere. Okay, G, put it there. Okay, G allows you to move it randomly. But what if I want to be more precise? Oh, by the way, to go back is Ctrl Z. Okay, Ctrl Z. Keep all of these commands on the side because you're going to keep on using them, and I don't expect you to remember all of them. Alright, so Ctrl Z to delete, but to go back. But when you want to move things precisely, you see these lines. There's a green line, there's a red line, and there's also a blue line that you don't see up and down that appears only when you use it. These are the coordinates where the axis on which you're moving the object. So if I do G, but then press, they're called X, Y, and Z. I press X, which is the red one. You see the red one I highlight, and I can move it on the red one without, see, if I move anywhere else it doesn't. So only in the red one. If I do G, Y, only on the Y. G, Z, only on the Z. You see it appears when you do it. But what if I want to be even more precise? I want to move it 2 squares to the left. So I do G, Y, minus 2. Minus because it's going the minus direction on that side. Or if I want to do positive, G, Y, 2. See, it goes on the other side. 2 boxes away. So, 2 squares away. So this is a very precise way of doing it. So keep that in mind if you want to move an object really precisely. Now we're going to go into the building something out of this box because it's a box, great, but we can't do much of the object mode. So we're going to change it to edit mode. Edit mode opens a whole new world, changes many things around. So you see this went bigger. Do not touch this yet. Please do not do that. Some of my students did, and it was a disaster. I had to restart everything. Keep it like this. There's only one option that I would suggest here that you try and use, which is the transform option, this one. With this one you get this handy little tool where you can move things around by just clicking on them instead of using the commands. You can change the shape, rotate it, all these things. But we're trying to be precise today, so let's do another thing. First of all, I need to teach you what these things are. These little dots here are called vertices. They're the little places that when you grab them with G, you can actually reshape the object completely. This is in vertices selection. If I go into edge selection, I can select edge, and then I can move the edge around instead of the dots or the little points at the extremities. And then there's face selection up here, which allows me to grab the entire face. And these are very important. Keep in mind these selections. They make life a lot easier. Now, I want to select everything, so I press A. A is to select everything. And I want to make this box flatter. So how do you do that? There's a command S. S. See, you get this little arrow, allows you to change the size of the object. But I want the size to be smaller only on the x-axis, on the z-axis, sorry. So I do S, and then I press Z. This locks on the z-axis, and then I squish it. There you go, squished it. Now, this is a box, but I actually want to make a table out of it. So I'm going to do S, Y, and then how many squares do I want to make? 1, X, Y, 1. S, Y, 1. E, oh sorry, I pressed too many. Okay, let's do it this way, because sometimes the commands are kind of messy in this way. I want to do the easiest version you can possibly do. So I'm going to do S, Y, and you just pull it like you did with the Z-axis. There you go. Okay, now you have a table, completely symmetrical on both sides, but it's missing legs. So what do we do? By the way, to move around, I'm using the scroll mouse button like this, and to pan around like this, I just press Shift while using the middle mouse button. Okay, you see? You can see that on the side there. Sorry, I should have started with that maybe, but you get used to it. So, I want to view from the top. So go on View, and here your viewpoint, and it allows you to go very precisely on top, bottom, front, back. So I want to do top. So I'm now at the top. See? Very precise. You have all the measurements around. Okay, so if you wanted to add legs to this, and actually let's go back to the messy point that I'm not controlling this one. If I wanted to add legs to this, I could simply do this maybe. Add cube, make it smaller, make it taller, and add a leg where I want it, like there for example. What's the issue here? Well, first of all, it's not that precise where I'm adding the leg. Second, here, it's disconnected and it has an extra face. When you're creating 3D models, you have to use as little faces as possible because this exerts the computer that's going to be using your 3D model. So if a game is there, it has a lot of faces, it's not going to run on certain computers, or it's going to have problems running on computers if it has millions of faces. And trust me, this is a simple table, but imagine you're making, I don't know, a statue or a detailed wall or something like that. Every single face counts. So you have to do as little as possible. And also, when you're going to do the coloring, the UV texturing, as we call it, it's going to mess it up if it's separate. So delete this, and let's do it the proper way. So again, view, viewpoint, top. Now, a new command that I'm going to teach you is Control R. If you move to the extremities while after Control R, you'll see that there's a yellow line appearing. So I want this one, But then if you use the scroll mouse button before clicking, you can get more lines. This one's the cut tool. So basically, if you click when you have two lines, see, now you have new lines on the object. Then you press SX while it's selected, and you squeeze them until you get to this point. Then you do the same thing again on this side. You do two lines, and then SY, because you're on the Y axis, and pull it this way. Now you have another two lines. As you can see, I made the exact shape of the legs on the extremities, and this time they're very precise. Sorry, move this by mistake. Keep it always in the middle. It's a good way of keeping track of where you're building stuff. Now I'm going to go in face selection, and I'm going to do shift select. So shift select selects everything together without losing the first selection. Now I can't really do much from this position, so I'm going to just scroll and go down. You see, now I have a table with 4 extremities. The new command that you're going to learn, and you need to write this down too, is E for extrude. So basically pull out objects out of other objects while keeping them attached to them. So E, and then the vertical axis will be controlled. You won't be able to move it anywhere else, and just make them as long as you want and click. See, now the legs are completely attached to the table. You cannot remove them. Now, good. You created an upside down table now. So how do we rotate it to the right position? We select everything with A. A is to select everything. Then press R to rotate, and then you keep the degrees that you want to rotate, so you don't do it randomly. If you do it manually, you might always not make it flat. So rotate upside down is 180 degrees. And here, the central point was not actually selected properly, so let's try again. 0. See, rotation has to be 0. So R, Y, 180. There you go. See? Now it's rotated properly. Be sure, like, even if it says that here it's 0, it should be okay, and then you see that that rotation is not actually 180. Rewrite those zeros. This is a bug that I've noticed a lot in Blender, and you need to keep an eye on it. Now if you go back to object mode, there you go. You have made your first table. Now, as I said, this is the first of a series of tutorials that I'm making, and I'll go into more and more details. This table is going to become something gigantic. I'm probably going to deal with making Roman or ancient ruins with several very high detailed objects, and we're going to go through all of it together, and or cartoonish, depends. I might mix a few different styles and see what happens. But the main thing, you're going to learn all the commands from 0 till the end. I hope that you like this video. If you like it, please subscribe. And the other thing, if you have any requests or anything, any problem while following the videos, please leave a comment below. I'll get back to you, or even make videos to explain what you wanted, if you have a particular thing that you want to do. Okay? So I hope this was useful, and I'll see you next time.